Have you ever wondered if an AI could actually think while it talks? Just like a person does? Well, there's a new model out there called Step-Audio R1.1, and it claims it can do exactly that. But we're not just going to take their word for it. We're putting it to the test right here, right now.
I mean, this is the big question, right? It's the holy grail for voice AI. We've all gotten used to that little pause, that moment of silence where you can practically hear the gears turning before an AI responds. But what if you could get rid of that delay? What if you could have a truly seamless back-and-forth conversation?
So, Step-Audio R1.1 makes this really bold claim. It can think while it's speaking. And you know us, we had to see this for ourselves. We got it installed locally on our own machine, and now it's time to find out if the reality actually lives up to all the hype.
Okay, so first things first, how in the world does it pull this off? Well, the secret sauce is something they call a dual brain architecture. Let's dive in and break down what that really means.
This slide, this right here, this gets to the heart of the problem with older AIs. You've always had to make a choice, a trade-off. Do you want a super fast, kinda simple response, or are you willing to wait a bit for a smarter, more thoughtful one? Step-Audio R1.1 basically says, why choose? It's designed to give you both at the same time.
And here's the magic behind it. The model is literally split into two parts that work together. You've got the Formulation Brain. Think of this as the deep thinker, the part that's doing all the heavy lifting and complex problem solving. But at the exact same time, you have the Articulation Brain, and its only job is to generate smooth, natural-sounding speech in real time. They run in parallel, and that's the key to the whole thinking while speaking.
But that's not the only trick up its sleeve. Get this, instead of turning your voice into text and then thinking about the text, this AI reasons directly on the raw sound waves of your voice, the acoustics. This is so clever because it skips a step where errors can sneak in. And what's really wild is that this means giving the AI more time to think actually makes it smarter, not slower. It's a total game changer.
All right, theory is cool and all, but we wanted to get our hands dirty. We were committed to testing this thing ourselves, and that meant doing a full local installation. And let me tell you, this is not your average piece of software. It was a challenge.
Yeah, the setup is definitely for folks who are comfortable with the command line. First, you've got to download the AI's core intelligence, which are called the model weights. Then you pull a special software environment called a Docker image to run it. And finally, you fire up the service with a specific command. It gives you total control, which is great, but it is absolutely not a simple one-click install.
And right away, we got a hint of just how massive this thing is. The download for the model itself was a whopping 67 gigabytes. Yeah, this is not your average app. Not by a long shot.
But believe it or not, the download size was just the beginning. To actually get it running, the model ate up over 75 gigabytes of VRAM on our GPU. I mean, this thing is an absolute resource-hungry beast. And that's a really important point. The power here is incredible for sure, but these kinds of hardware requirements mean that for now, this tech is way out of reach for your average user. It's a peek into the future, but a future that needs some seriously powerful hardware.
So, with the model finally up and running, it was time for our first test. We didn't want to start with something easy. No. We decided to throw it a real curveball, a scenario that needed more than just logic. It needed to understand social situations, maybe even a little emotional intelligence.
So we gave it this audio prompt. It's kind of funny, a little awkward, and it's just packed with unspoken social stuff. The person is obviously asking for advice, but wow, there's a lot to unpack there. So the big question was, how would the AI handle something like this? And the response was, honestly, it was the perfect example of this model's power and its weird little flaws. On one hand, the social reasoning was amazing. It totally understood the user was asking for advice, it picked up on the neighbor's potential vulnerability, and it gave a great answer about consent and boundaries. But then it would randomly spit out Chinese characters in the middle of an English sentence, and the tone would jump from super professional to really casual slang. So you see these little quirks that show, hey, this is powerful, but it's still an early version. Okay, so from the world of tricky social situations, we completely switched gears. Next up was a test of technical creativity. Could this model take a spoken idea, a creative vision, and actually turn it into working code? And we were very specific. We asked for a self-contained HTML file using a specific JavaScript library for a colorful animated rocket with a sparkling firework trail. I mean, that's a pretty demanding request, both creatively and technically. After a moment of processing our voice, it didn't just give us some pointers. No, it generated an entire block of code designed to do exactly what we had just described.
And here's the best part. It actually worked. Perfectly. We saved the code, opened the file in a browser, and bam, there it was. A colorful animated rocket zooming across the screen. Mission totally accomplished. It was a huge win for the AI's creative and coding skills.
So, after putting Step-Audio R1.1 through all these tests, what's the final takeaway? Where do we land on the whole hype versus reality debate for this thinking while speaking AI?
Okay, let's break it down. The pros are huge. The real-time reasoning is the real deal. It's genuinely impressive, and it's got incredible range. It can handle a fuzzy social problem just as well as a precise coding task. But the cons are just as big. That massive hardware requirement is a major roadblock, and those little quality control glitches show it's not quite ready for prime time. It really shines a light on where we are with AI right now. We're seeing these mind-blowing new abilities, but the next big hurdle is making them stable, efficient, and available to everyone.
You know, what's so fascinating is that this AI gives us a little window into its own reasoning process. It's blurring the line between a tool that just computes and a partner that actually thinks. And that leaves us with a pretty deep question to chew on. What happens when that line gets so blurry we can't see it at all?